You're in Budapest.
That's my grandmother up there.
Is it really? Wow. God, that's an amazing painting.
Eddie, when was the first time you heard the word politics? What
I'm
context?
trying to think. I think it must have been, I grew up in the UK in the 80s, and Margaret Thatcher was around, and it was a very kind of rigorous time politically and heated time. So I remember sort of my parents would let me stay up and watch the news. So I must have been about 5 or 6, but I don't think, I understood very little, but probably, let's say 8 or 9. I think that's a bit, the idea that I was sort of politically aware at 5 or 6 is ridiculous. But let's say 8 or 9, yeah.
And when did you become conscious politically?
I don't think I can answer that. I don't think it comes in a specific flood of a moment. It's something where the concerns that you have, the concerns that people around you have, like I remember sort of with the Iraq War and with Tony Blair, and that moment being the whole, and the weapons of mass destruction being incredibly shocking, and realizing, I think as a child, you sort of believe that politicians know what they're doing, and the system is encouraged to make you think that. I think as you get older, and the people that are some of the people rising to power are sort of your age, it becomes more scary because you realize how little you know, and quite often they expose themselves for how little they know.
And how political are you now?
It's a very good question. I believe that advocacy is something that you work on sort of daily. I consistently kind of question myself. I was talking earlier in the meeting about, as someone in the public eye, we're in this sort of world now where there is a sense that as a celebrity or someone that it has, your voice is perhaps over amplified. And with that, I think you have to really question what you speak up about. So I ask myself basically every day, and I believe that we should and can all be advocates in our own way. But I try to generally do that in a grassroots way, in a way that, for example, obviously through playing Stephen Hawking, I met many people living with motor neuron disease, ALS. Now in this country, I'm a patron for the ALS Association. And during our lockdown with COVID, there was this list of people who were on a protected list, and with people that were very vulnerable, and people with ALS weren't on that list. And so whether it was writing to my local politician, through the charity, trying to speak to and lobby people to encourage people now, but that was just on a human level. I try generally to keep my focus on my work, because I find that there can be hypocrisies. Like we're very fortunate actors in the public eye. I have a very lovely life, and I don't like being talked down to by people who aren't specialists in that subject. That being said, when I see other people who are amplifying things that I don't believe in and I think are doing harm, I will add my voice to that. That's probably quite a messy answer, which is perhaps one of the things that I found so important about this film, is that Robert Kennedy Jr. said this kind of a riveting thing that basically democracy is messy, and it's hard, and it's something that is, and I think that this film sort of shows that, but it's something that you've got to kind of fight for.
Let's talk a little bit about the lockdown and you and kids and Vanna. So how did the whole thing go?
Well, again, Anikó was so lucky. We have a little farmhouse in the countryside. We have chickens. Hannah is an amazing gardener. So we basically were quite self-sufficient. I've always had a little inkling of a dream. My favorite book when I was a child was this book called Mr. Tick the Teacher, which was a book about a couple who had 6 children, and they had a little school, and they only had their kind of 6 children in the school. So this was basically, and they were teachers and cooks and everything. And so this was kind of my moment to basically, with my 4-year-old daughter, be Mr. Tick the Teacher. And it was amazing because I got to be there when she first began to read. And I got to, now that being said, we also had our hands full completely. It's been, until my children have just gone to school, but it's been exhausting, but we've been very, very lucky. How are you doing? Some of that, a lot of that.
It's for you. This is for you. I know you are in London. I'm in Budapest, but
Yeah.
Eddie, we should meet.
We should. I definitely need some of that. I have some of that pretty much every night the second that the children go to bed. Hannah and I are like,
This is a bottle of Hungarian wine. This
where is it
wine
from? There's that amazing area.
Tokaj.
Tokaj. I miss Hungary. I've been thinking about it a lot recently because I had, you know, we speak about it, but I spent almost a year living in Hungary when I made 2 television series in Budapest. And I miss that city a lot.
Here you go.
Thank you.
And you have to promise me we meet. And we drink. And big kiss to the kids, to you and Hannah.
Lovely to see you, Anikó. Bye-bye.